and welcome to your new shift planner. We built a shift planner specifically for MSPs who use Autotask, Proxuma. You can now start planning for things that you cannot foresee in the future, right? Things like level 1 support, where you have to be reactive to certain tickets, things like a SOC or a NOC, 24/7 SLA. Many MSPs currently solve it in Teams Shift Planner, but that then doesn't talk to Autotask or Outlook, so it kind of lives in its own space. And what we wanted to do is build something that is going to talk to the rest of the calendar, meaning you're going to see it in Proxuma, like so. You can see here this thin bar, that's the shift. And depending on your capacity settings, which I'll get into in a minute, you can see it in the capacity calendar as well, as taken off one of the colors. And it sends Outlook invites to the employees. Very important. So you have your regular service call Outlook invites with a link to the ticket. And then you have your shift, which shows, this is configurable like the other ones that you're used to, but it shows all kinds of fields. And you can have it, very importantly, be on the free category, like you see here. So it's free, meaning that if the person is on the shift, they don't get that red light on their Teams status, right? That's configurable as well, meaning that you can have, a person occupy a shift, and then in the afternoon, maybe they're handling a service call for a project task and one for a few tickets, stuff like that. So it's really making Proxuma complete as a product, and this is now a complete company calendar. And your capacity calculation is also now finally complete. It doesn't have to have exclusions or anything like that. So let's get into how shifts work. So as you can see, we're no longer planning from the capacity of people on the left, but we have the shift itself. The order can be either manual or by start time, so you can set your shift order by just dragging things around. And it has the same balance compact detail that you're used to, and the same filter that you're used to. Now, the shift, basically, you're going to create it with the plus, and then it's going to be one of these blocks. So you can click on the blocks as well. And there you see all the settings that we have around the shift. And then the shift has an individual occurrence every time. And you can see with the number on the top right, 1 out of 2, 0 out of 1, how many people are on the shift. And you can plan those people by dragging them into a calendar, like from the plan bucket, like so. That fills in the shift. Okay, so let's get started. So firstly, let's make sure that we're not going to break anything or send anyone notifications by creating a whole bunch of shifts in their calendar. So we go to settings just to see what Outlook looks like. First of that being, if you have silent creation on, then we're not going to send a bunch of notifications that somebody's been planning on a shift. If you don't have it on, or you want to exclude shifts for whatever reason, you can do that here as well. So what you could do is first play around with shifts with this one off, and then once you're happy and confident and you have the silent creation on, then you toggle it. And then that sends out a whole bunch of Outlook invites without the email, without the spam. Right, so that's something to think about. Then add step 5, shifts, free, right? That's the Outlook status that I talked about earlier. Here you go, right here on the top. Meaning that if this calendar invite arrives, the person on Teams and their work status will still be available to do work, right? And then step 7, we have pre-configured which Autotask variables go where in the Outlook invite. Please take a look at this yourself, and remember, if you go into a white space, you type / you get all the variables. And by the way, I said Autotask variables. What I meant was shift variables. Autotask doesn't have shifts, right? So which variables go where, and you can also, of course, do plain text. And thereby, add some flair to your Outlook invite. All right, so that out of the way, we can get to creating our shift. You create it by going plus and then giving it a title. So I'll just do test shift here. And remember, this is for the main overlying entity. You're going to have individual instances of this shift later on. However, something to think about, if let's say you're doing this as a 24/7 shift, well, what you're going to want to do is have maybe 3 of those. So you have a day, and then after this we'll create another one, which is the morning shift, which is from like midnight until 8, and then also the maybe 5 until midnight would be the evening shift. That's how you want to think about it. And these are going to be 3 distinct blocks chronologically after each other. Start date, I would usually say whenever you're planning this, just make sure that it's on the Monday. That's the cleanest way to do it, but hey, entirely up to you, of course. I'm going to go with Monday 8. And then end date. So this is not the eventual end date when you completely stop planning. This is the end date of that individual block. So, you know, maybe an 8-hour block or a 9-hour, in this case, block, right? Color coding, very nice to do. I definitely want to make sure that all my stuff is color coded. And, you know, think about the colorblind people in your organization. Maybe don't use shades of blue. Okay, so then what is non-working hours? It'll be your lunch, stuff like that, right? So how many hours are actual work and how many not? And this is also has to do with capacity, right? So these two are capacity impact related features. So first is just going to be an hour of non-working for me. And then the capacity impact. So this is sort of how busy am I doing stuff? And could I perhaps handle a service call that some planner in Proxuma is going to throw in my calendar, right? Or maybe a project task. To what extent can I handle work? So this is just for that capacity calculator. For this shift, I'm going to go 80%. Shift type is more for future reporting, but definitely think about this. Is it the kind of shift where you're just on standby, you have the phone in your pocket, and maybe you have to do something, but usually there's nothing? Or is this an actual work shift where I'm constantly doing work? This is also for legal reasons. So many countries have labor laws where you can't just give someone X amount of hours of regular work, but they can definitely have a lot more hours if it's just one of those on-call shifts. That's how you should think about this. Needed resources, how many people on the shift at a minimum. Very, very basic stuff. And it's going to impact the little color on the top right corner of how many people I've planned. Shift intensity and shift rotation are definitely things that also, let me tell you a little bit about the upcoming AI feature. It's going to be here by the end of the year where you can just tell it, you know, this is my shift, go and plan it. So this block right here, you'll probably still be filling in, but then all the work after that is just done automatically. In which case, you know, if something is a heavy shift, then you really want to make sure that the AI knows that so that they don't plan someone in quick succession doing that shift over and over again, right? And rotation is the same kind of thing. How often do we really have to rotate someone on this shift? Then the required skills, that's also going to be for your people bucket that you're going to get on the right, where you drag people into the shift. So this is for large organizations, right? And by the way, you can choose whether or not these map to the auto task skills. Which no one uses, so at least I've asked everyone, and so far I've not come across a single MSP using Autotask skills, but here you are. Skills are now going to become relevant again if you need to filter which people you see to drag into the shift from the bucket. So just have to think about which skills are required for your shift, and then put those in there. Now the recurrence, it's kind of just very similar to what you're used to in Outlook. Almost every time it's going to be weekly recurrence, and then you just select which days. The start date is going to be the start date that you put on the top right on your shift, but you do want to end it, especially with an Outlook integration. You definitely want to end the shift at some point, and then just go end on, right? I'll end it on the end of the month. Once you get really comfortable with this and with the people you have, of course you can have shifts end in a year or very far, but for now, keep the scope small until you're fully comfortable with the way this all works. You also need to select create before start date. So how well in advance do I need to create this? Shifts, you know, be nice to your employees, create it well in advance so that they know what they're going to do. So I'm going to name this test shift day. Meeting details. This is all, what does the Outlook meeting look like? Same as with service calls. So I could really skip all of this because you should probably already know this. However, just when it comes to shifts, maybe go always disabled or use global rule in terms of notifications, because again, a lot of notifications are going to be sent for this Outlook invite. And the location. So internal location, that's the auto task talk for, you know, the office, and then you select your office here. Be sure to do that. And then do or do not give it a Teams meeting. I mean, if it's not a meeting thing, then I would generally not put a Teams link in there. And then Outlook status free is probably the best. unless you have something else going on for the shift. We cannot do anything to do with Outlook Organizer because there's no resource when you create a shift. So we wouldn't be able to send it from the primary resource. So it can only come from a central organizer, which you've set up in your Outlook settings. It's at the very last page of your Outlook settings. So be sure to check it out, that you know that's coming from the right email address. Planning at or shifts at perhaps, or Proxuma at would be a good email address. And then that's it. You create your shift. And we've got our shift. Here it is. And I have to go to next week to see our beautiful new shift that's been created. Bring people onto the shift, we get a bucket right here, and you just drag them into the shift. That's it. It's very easy. To make it a little bit better, you've got your views again and you've got your filters again. So just either select the people that you want to see for this shift, and so you can start planning fast, or the skills that are needed for the shift. Select those and then update current view to save that into your view. So you can have a view for each shift if you want, for instance, right? And you can do some more editing of the items that you want to see here on this card. It might become necessary if you have a lot of skills or something, or just stuff you don't want to see. It's clutter. You can remove that. And then, as you can see, the person, Bruce Banner here, he was applied to the shift. And now it went from red to yellow. So it's halfway full. So now let's put Charles Darwin in there. And now it's completely fully planned. I can see them here. Edit. I could even unselect them if I want. Put more people in there. Anything I'd like to do. And let's take a look. So this is the 29th. If I go to the resource calendar, I go to the 29th. Then I see a shift here and a shift there. Capacity impact. All checks out. Now, the bucket, it's a fast way to do it. Side scrolling or having a wide screen really helps as well, as with the regular calendar, to make planning faster. But very soon you'll be able to bulk edit, so bulk assign people in one go to the shift. And also, of course, our AI module is really built for this as well. Our upcoming AI module is going to allow you to just tell the AI to put people on the shift according to your parameters. However, for now, it's already a big benefit to be able to send these Outlook invites and to have your shifts planned from the perspective of the shift. And of course, you can now put your whole working organization in Proxuma. Shift module doesn't cost extra. So basically, you just have an engineer license for everyone who you want to plan shifts for. And then you finally have a comprehensive company calendar of what everyone's doing, all teams, and how well people's time is being spent doing useful, billable work. Hope you enjoy. Happy planning.